What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terence?
With a touch of reality.
With a touch of reality in Terence's deep and sexy and hoarse voice.
We have. Are we officially saying it's a weekly podcast?
I don't know, man. Part of me died when I said that just now.
Yeah.
Weekly
Part of you
podcast.
died. No, I mean I think thrice weekly was always a experiment, right? It wasn't a guaranteed thing.
No lah, we were doing it for how long already? It's just that I don't think it was an experiment, man. In fact, I was going to say that now we have our intern who's joined us already. I think thrice weekly should still be the target, man.
Target lah, but
Not
sometimes it's
experiment
not even about us. Sometimes it's about the headlines also, So I can't always say it's a failing of targets or anything like that. Because I know the productivity guru is like, oh, we got to set the target. But sometimes it's like, if even the quality of the stories also is not there.
No lah, but the reality is there have been other circumstances the past few weeks which didn't allow us to do 3 times a week. And I don't give me this productivity guru thing. We were doing it for how long already?
No. Even during that period, I'm sure there were instances where it was twice a week, more than 3 times.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't always. By the way, that's the
That's
the thing. That's the reality of trying to produce content in a world that where there is a lot of content around. Right.
What a somber way to start the podcast, Terence.
It is. I'm as you can tell from my voice, I'm not 100%, but I haven't been 100% for like a month or two already. So I'm just like I said, being realistic about things.
Don't worry, I'll balance it with the optimism.
Overdose of optimism.
I'll overdose when I need to overdose, man.
Yeah.
But how was your weekend otherwise?
Weekend was good, man. I think we had a good chance to catch the Rishi's first live show back on Friday, and bumped into a couple of Yellow Butt listeners as well who came to say hi.
Yeah.
Shout out to Grace for coming over to say hi.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty awesome just seeing the whole comedy scene back together, live shows, packed room. And just having fun on a Friday night.
Yeah. And shout out to I think Kevin as well, who also messaged us saying they saw us. But yeah, I think it was great to see also Rishi back in his element, performing on stage. Because the last time, the past 2 years, even when we did our own event, it was always social distancing. And it's so nice to be at an event where there's no more social distancing. And just, it felt like, oh shit, there's the beauty of a packed house.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
I mean, I won't deny it was nervous sitting next to people, like literally next to people, because I haven't done that in a while. Yeah. So, but it was okay. It was fine. It worked out.
Oh, you were nervous,
Yeah. I mean, not just for myself, but even for them, because at the point last week, I just gotten well from like a pretty bad case of tonsillitis as well. True, just wanted to be sure I wasn't spreading too many germs around.
True. But cool. We've got some interesting topics to dive into today. But before that, we do want to just do a little plug for something that we haven't plugged for a long time. It is that if you listen to this podcast, you enjoy it, wherever you're listening to, it'd be great if you could just leave a rating. I know Spotify has the 1 to 5 star rating, Apple as well. I don't know about other podcast players, but yeah, just if you want to just show your support, it would be nice, lah.
Yeah. Give the full 5-star rating, man.
Yeah, the full 5-star rating, man. Because it's all about the 5 stars.
Yeah, it's all about the 5 stars.
Cool. All right. Okay. The first topic.
Yes.
Should I do the honors?
Please do.
Okay. It is it came out, I think, 5 days ago. ahead of Pink Dot weekend. The results of a survey that was done by Ipsos, which is the Institute of what does Ipsos stand for? Ipsos. Yeah, it's there was a survey of like 500 people done towards attitudes on same-sex relationships lah. Oh, sorry, Ipsos is the market research firm, and it
Yeah, I
just
don't think
found.
it stands for anything, right?
Yeah, I for some reason I thought it was part of the Institute of
Oh.
Policy Studies in Singapore,
No,
but that's
no, no.
IPS.
This one is the Independent Polling System of Society, Ipsos.
Also, it is a market research firm lah.
Yeah, independent, yeah.
Okay, it's an independent. So basically, one of the high level finding was that support for Section 377A, which is the law that criminalizes homosexual sex, actually just anal sex lah, or basically any non heterosexual sex. The law that criminalizes it, support for it has dropped.
Yeah.
Generally, and we'll go into the numbers. But it came out, right before Pink Dot weekend lah.
Correct, yep.
Yeah, and
Speaking of which, how was your what did Pink Dot weekend mean for you?
What did it mean for me? I'm glad that it's happening again. I'm glad that it's back. I'm glad that that people are gathering again for this cause. I personally wasn't there, but I just thought, okay, we haven't had it for 2 years, but it's nice to have it back lah.
I see,
Yeah,
I see.
for you?
Do you know anyone who went for Pink Dot?
I think a handful of people. Yeah, but it did feel like I remember a few years ago when Pink Dot weekend came around. It felt like it was more in mainstream consciousness than it was this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what about you?
I can't help but feel that as well. I think some people mentioned to me as well. They didn't even realize that it was Pink Dot weekend and that it was going on as per normal and everything. So I guess, I don't know whether it's a publicity thing or what, because like I think previous years there's like every time the ambassador of Pink Dot was announced or something like that, there's usually like a press release and all these things, right?
Yeah.
But for the life of me this year, I don't think I remember any ambassador being announced or anything like that.
Oh yeah, that's true. Last time there was Nathan Hartono, there was Hirzi, there was
Then remember there
Muna.
was Tosh at one point, and then he got called out for some old tweets and stuff
Oh
like that.
yeah.
So I didn't get that sense of a monumental event this time round lah. But yeah, like you, I'm still glad it's back. You know, it's a real marker that maybe things are getting back to normal in Singapore.
And I mean, like, just building off what you said, like, one of the reasons why I wasn't there was because I wasn't aware that it was happening this weekend. I will totally admit that. And when it happened, I was like, oh shit, was it this weekend? So yeah, that's where it felt like, okay, I think now looking back, there was chatter online, but it was very isolated lah. Whereas a few years ago, it felt like it was across the board. Maybe because in previous years, there was also more drama. Like, you know, in 2017, 2018, when the foreign companies were not allowed to sponsor. I think 2017, then 2018, like 120 Singapore companies stepped up to give the sponsorship. But I mean, 2019 was probably the last big one, and then boom, COVID. Right. So, but I mean, it's interesting to see this survey come out, and essentially, they polled 500 people. Even though that feels like a fucking small number, there was assurances from Ipsos that it reflected Singapore's overall population distribution lah. The respondents were aged between 18 and above, and it met the national quotas on age, gender, and ethnicity lah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you saw this headline come out, what were some of your first thoughts?
I mean, I thought it was perfect timing, just in time before Pink Dot. But maybe the other side of it is that it also, because it's actually a move in the right direction, right, in terms of general people's attitudes, shifting away from opposing, shifting in the right direction lah, right, in the right direction of more inclusiveness and openness to minorities around us, right? So maybe that is the same reason also that there wasn't that same fire, like you mentioned, to have to go to Pink Dot to make your voice heard.
Oh.
Because you're literally, I mean, the surveys are proving that, hey, it is happening even without us having had Pink Dot for the last 2 years already, you know?
Oh, so you're
So-
saying it's almost like the fire under our asses are not as bright because it feels like things are getting better.
Yeah. Imagine with a headline or something like, majority of Singaporeans still think Singapore's not ready for a gay prime minister or something like that. Then everyone will be fired up and then they'll go to Pink Dot and yes, I support having a gay prime minister, that kind of thing.
Actually, yeah, that's true because
Now I see this headline, I'm like, oh, okay lah, then done already lah, then don't need to go for Pink Dot already lah. Right.
maybe that was what was going through my head without even me realizing it. Because now looking back, I mean, even Shanmugam himself said before that, the government is carefully considering the best way forward and consulting different groups on their viewpoints. A few years ago, the message was like, you know what, fuck all of you, we're not going to repeal 377A. And it felt like it was more urgent lah.
Yeah, and then remember when they enacted that the foreign companies cannot fund 377,
Yeah,
cannot
everyone
fund
was
Pink
like,
Dot.
fuck that,
Then everyone was like, fuck that shit, I'm bringing my pink IC and going straight down right now just to make the numbers count. And
Yeah. I think that was when we also went down.
and then they
I've
set
gone
up
down before.
barriers. Even they set up those iron gate barriers and everything. And it felt like, whoa, this is so bad. Now it feels like, oh, okay, this is like NDP light,
Oh shit! That is in some way good, in some way horrifying. That people become so complacent. I mean, not saying that putting on my tinfoil hat. If that was like the very the political genius of like people who maybe still would not want to repeal 377A. That is a brilliant strategy, like almost make it seem like you care without actually just knowing that the people on the who are maybe not directly impacted but still care would be like, oh, like what you said, like, oh, okay lor, okay, next cause to move on to.
Yeah.
Oh shit! But I don't think that's the case lah. I hope that's not the case lah. But it's
I doubt it lah. I mean, it'd be a real like political savant or something like some genius to come up with this kind of tactic.
Yeah, because I mean, even like I think it was in March when the government themselves, their research arm or their research body called Reach, put out a survey to hear from people, and that's a different survey from this survey, and that was the one that I remember going viral to the point where the government closed it after maybe a week due to overwhelming response. And that one got like 30,000 responses apparently. Like, I don't know when those results are going to be shared or when the findings are going to be shared. But it felt like, oh shit, this kind of survey would be unheard of like a few years ago. La.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, this survey still had some interesting things to take note of. La. So, I mean, off the bat, the last time this survey was done in 2018, 55% did not support same-sex relationships. La. But now it is down to 44%. Oh, sorry.
And that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big ass deal. And sorry, I correct myself. It was more about the supporting the 377A of the Penal Code. So 55% supported the law in 2018, and now only 44%. So it's down 11%. Like, that's almost 20% of 55%.
Yeah. But I think the more important thing there is that you can no longer just off the cuff just say a majority of Singaporeans support withholding, support keeping 377A there.
Yeah.
You just can't say that anymore. It's a less than half lah. So I mean, can you say it's a minority? Maybe not minority, but you definitely cannot say majority of Singaporeans think that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you can't say that anymore. And then I mean, but at the opposite end of the spectrum, there were 12% who opposed the law.
In 2018, right?
In 2018, yeah. Now 20% are against it now, which also shows that people who are against the law is also growing in numbers,
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, overall, the thing is, back in 2018, for the people who neither oppose nor like supported it. It numbered at 33%.
Yeah.
This year it's 36%. So there's still like a third of Singapore who just doesn't give a fuck lah.
Yeah, they basically, to them, whether status quo or it doesn't really matter, lah, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So I mean, it's I guess it's a step in the right direction. I wouldn't say right because right also subjective. It's a step in a direction that I'm happy about lah.
Correct. But remember, this survey also comes out the same week that the recent Pixar movie Lightyear, which is the origin story of Buzz Lightyear,
Yeah.
a very beloved Toy Story character.
Yeah.
Received a NC-16 rating in Singapore.
Yeah.
For a Pixar movie to receive an NC-16 rating, that's Pixar is meant to be mostly kid friendly, lah, right? So NC-16 almost takes away a huge chunk of the market
Because of the same sex kiss or something, right?
Yes, there was a same-sex kiss between two characters. I haven't seen the movie myself, so I can't talk to how gratuitous the kiss was. But nonetheless, it was still a big point of contention about how ready are Singaporeans for depictions of gay people just living life as per normal in society in Singapore. Yeah. So authorities still think we're not ready for that. But what do you think of that whole hoo-ha?
The Buzz Lightyear thing.
Yeah.
I think it still feels like Singapore, by and large, right now, is not going to be repealed anytime soon because the status quo is that no same-sex marriages. So when that Buzz Lightyear thing came out, I was like, fuck. It's exactly like what we have seen over the years, like with that book about the same-sex penguin couple, the Beauty and the Beast. Also, I think Beauty and the Beast. Also, there was something. Some petition against it, right? I don't think it was activated, but there was still some uproar over there. But when I see surveys like this, it feels like it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time before things change. But for now, this is still the same shitty status quo.
Yeah, because I think ultimately the survey still, if anything, it still shows that about 70% want to keep the status. I would not say want to keep the status quo. Either want to or can't really be bothered whether it's kept as the status quo, right?
Yeah.
Because just taking the number of people who support the law plus those who don't really care one way or the other, right? And the group that really wants to enact change, that's about 1 in 5 people. So I guess the question is whether that 1 in 5 people will one day be able to convince the other 4 people in this group, to make that change.
I mean, in some way, there was also another aspect of the survey. Apparently, 45% of respondents said they had become more accepting of same-sex relationships compared with 3 years ago. So this is it's not a number of how many people are accepting of it. It's amongst those interviewed and surveyed, how many felt that they have become more accepting. So 45%, that's almost half are more accepting of it now than they were back then. And even along the age lines, between 18 to 29, 67% felt they had become more accepting. And then for 50 years and older, 29%. So almost a third of the so-called boomers. The boomers have also had their mindsets change slightly. So when you see that kind of stuff, you're like, oh, okay, so it's not just the younger folk who are skewing the results. Seems like the older folk also are somewhat open,
Yeah. I mean, all in all, I think maybe the last couple of years with COVID, everything, there's a bit more of a live and let live kind of attitude, even amongst the older people. Then they realize it's. I mean, life is short, You spend all the time worrying about what other people are doing in their bedrooms. Let's sort out your own bedroom first.
Wait, what was that bedroom thing again?
No, I'm just saying that life is short. Rather than worry about what other people do in their bedrooms, you should sort out what's happening at your own home, in your own house first, lah.
Oh, but this one is also not just what's happening in people's bedrooms, right? It's also outside, man.
Oh yeah lah. I'm saying that the general perception of towards homosexual relationships and all that, and then being worried about how people are exposed to them. Because actually, I think it's important to I know we were just talking about it briefly. Excuse me, but actually, I think it's an important point to raise also is that some more conservative people I know, their argument is not so much against the depiction of homosexuality in films and everything. Their fear is the depiction of homosexuality in media that is consumed by children. That especially targeted at children. For example, like Buzz Lightyear, right? Well, I mean, whatever you want to say about Pixar being, it's good enough to be adult animation and all that kind of stuff, and the quality of storytelling. But at the end of the day, the general perception is that animation is targeted at children, right? So, I mean, I have had some Christian friends who like, yeah, you go ahead and do it in like all the adult films, all the the adult films and all that me and my wife watch. But once you start going to the realm of my children and all that, that's where I will try and stop you. And from my understanding of where the mindset comes from is that they don't believe that the children are capable of making decisions for themselves about certain things, even when it comes down to like things like the sexuality and all that, and just being exposed to different lifestyle and all is they feel is will make the children want to tend towards experimenting and things like that lah. As opposed to they don't think on the positive side of it of being exposed to different types of groups and marginalized groups and minorities and all that, and being more empathetic to how their lives are lah. They don't think of that positive aspect of it. They see mostly the negative sides of things lah. So yeah, I mean it's a but it is something to think about lah, as a parent, like when are you being a prude by saying that you reject society's timeline for when your child is ready for these kinds of discussions and all, or is it entirely up to you as a parent? Is that your right to do so, because you could argue that he's not saying that he doesn't want to. Eventually he will have to talk to his kids about the birds and the bees, right? And the sexuality. It's just that he doesn't want it to be foisted upon him, like when they just want to go out and watch a movie or anything like that.
Or even not just the birds and the bees, it's the birds and the birds and the bees and the bees also.
The birds and the bees. Yeah. So imagine you watch a movie thinking that it's just mindless entertainment and able to keep your kids entertained for a while. Then next thing you know, your kid wants to sit you around and talk to you about some serious sexuality issues and all that, right? And then he feels that he's not ready for that for that timeline to be foisted on him.
So how do you feel, given that you're a parent as well, and at some point you're going to have to confront this at least earlier than me?
I'm okay with it in the sense that I try to see the more positive side of exposing your kid to real people out there. I mean, we're talking about a good 10% of our human population, So I think it's something that needs to be addressed sooner rather than later.
I think
so that's my thought. How about you?
I guess it's one of those things that, I mean, I think you brought up a good point, because it's something that I don't think many people consider. And the one thing that made me consider this for the first time recently was when I think previously on a previous podcast I said my one Shiok Thing was a trailer for a controversial documentary on called "What Is a Woman" lah. So that has been getting a lot of backlash, a lot of polarization, and it's just it's more like a right wing documentary questioning the whole thing. But I think it posed some interesting questions lah. But on one excerpt where the guy Matt Walsh was invited onto Dr. Phil's show alongside a panel of people from the community, they also brought on two parents who were petitioning against their school. And I was wondering, okay, are these going to be like super conservative, super right wing parents? And they came on and they said something similar to what your friend said. They were like, they fully support the LGBTQ plus movement, the trans movement, but they were petitioning against their school because their school were giving homework assignments to their 8-year-old children to talk about gender identity. And they were like, why is it being given to an 8-year-old child? Like this new thing that it's a very heavy topic lah. And I know that is gender identity, but sexuality, it's also something that is still new. I remember when we were growing up, the whole concept of heterosexual sex also wasn't talked about much in school. I remember, like how people have all these different stories about how they found out how intercourse happens and all that. So now for same-sex sexual relationships, I think watching that excerpt and then listening to what you just said, I think it is a very real thing lah, which maybe a few years ago I would have been like, oh, that parent, your friend, the parent is like, you know what, you need to support a whole movement, but it is a real concern lah. And I think it's a very, how you say, it's a tricky thing to navigate because I can totally imagine, I don't know lah, just throwing something out there. Maybe 30 years ago, people were like, okay, I only want my kids to go to a school with people of the same race because they're not, like, maybe they're that young, they're not capable of thinking a certain way and understanding, oh, why does that kid look different from me? Put them all together and then when they're older, introduce them to their first Indian friend or their first Chinese friend lah.
Yeah.
I know that sounds like just like a slippery slope kind of thing, but it feels like, I could have seen that happening then, and maybe this is the challenge of our generation, right? Because when you say you are okay with it, that means I'm sure you fully acknowledge the fact that you might have to have some more elaborate discussions with your kids when the topic comes up, lah.
Yeah, because I think you brought up a good point in that sexuality, even for people like you and me, our generation, right? I think we only really like engaged a lot more with it. Probably like later in our puberty. No, not later in our puberty, but probably, I don't know. For me, it was like close to the end of primary school or something like that, lah.
You mean engaged in it, like just the knowledge of it, lah?
Just the knowledge.
I thought you were saying engaging in stuff like that in primary
not getting
schools,
relationships or having intercourse or anything like that.
Oh, okay.
Get your mind out of the gutter.
That's why I was like, whoa, Terrence, calm the fuck down, man.
12-year-old kids. But yeah, just even the general interest or anything like that, lah.
Yeah.
And understanding that, okay, I'm attracted to girls or anything like that, right? I think that came, pretty late for. I think our generation wasn't something that we would openly talk about in school until like you're a bit older, like 11 or 12 or something like that, right? I from what I understand, kids these days are exposed to all this much earlier.
Yeah.
Because of the internet and the easy availability of things, and just in general, media is just much more. The depiction of sex and sexuality in media is much more open these days, lah. Right. So that's why to me it's I can't take the same standards I had on that I grew up with and apply them to my kid, lah. I don't think I think that'll be a bit too slow already, lah.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel there is a need to sort of tackle it head on. And yes, it is probably more challenging, lah. But that's why hopefully having more discussions about these things also helps to arm parents with the tools to talk to children about it more coherently, lor. Rather than to use racial slurs. I mean, not racial, I mean like slurs and things like that to describe certain things and all that, right?
Yeah. So that's why I think it's it's one of those things that we don't want to go to a place where it becomes the easy response, saying that okay, there's not enough knowledge out there, so I don't want to talk about this with my kid yet, lah.
Yeah.
Because like already the topic of sex as a child growing up is really such a big and taboo thing. Then if there's same sex stuff, if people do realize when they're younger, when they start developing, going through puberty, developing the, I don't know, just the attraction to the same sex, this is like the next layer which can be fucking challenging, lah. So yeah, so that's why when your friend was saying that, I mean, I can understand the concern, but it's also something then what needs to change? Probably the education, the resources for parents, to kind of, how you say, confront these sort of questions. I don't know what resources there are out there for parents to talk about this with their kids, lah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably find out soon, but at the same time, yeah, lah, it's kind of something. I think the parents also have to take it upon themselves to
Yeah.
want to do it, because it's you can have all the resources and all the to help the world. I mean, you can search the internet and everything, lah. But it's just whether the parents really want to do it, lah. You know.
But in the older generation folk that you interact with, like, I mean, family, outside family and all that, do you also sense a change, or is it just a topic that never comes up?
Never comes up, man. Never comes
Yeah, I
up.
think for me also.
Yeah. I don't see no uncles of mine, talking about this or anything.
You try. You like bringing up this in social conversations, right? You try next time your next big family gathering, what, Chinese New Year next year?
Yeah. I mean, if anything, it's just I think it's just, yeah, people don't talk about it that much. They just sort of like yeah lah, let people live how they want to live. They kind of comment lah. That's probably as positive as it gets, really lah.
I see. But
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
like I mean, Rice Media put out an interesting article titled "Our Survey Shows Not Enough Singaporeans Understand Section 377A That Needs to Change," and because they commissioned their own survey of like 1,000 people, and just the approach they took was like, okay, comparing the knowledge that individuals have about 377A versus their perspectives on it, lah.
Yeah.
So they found, a lot of people who didn't understand 377A also were ambivalent towards whether anything needs to be done about it or not, lah. So their whole point was also like, okay, there needs to be more education about the whole topic, lah. So I thought that was an interesting approach to it as well. We'll put the link of that the article in the show notes.
Yeah,
But
correct.
yeah, I mean, I guess it's like what you said, the fervor of Pink Dot. I'm sure there was, but it felt like it didn't translate to the mass population as much this year as it did the last year. And maybe there will be a point of time in future where Pink Dot is not even required.
I think that's the dream, right?
Yeah, that's the
there's
dream,
no more. There's no more Pink Dot because, we've achieved complete, equality and meritocracy in Singapore and everything, lah.
I mean, whether or not that is achievable.
Every August 9th, we are reminded it has been achieved.
Yeah,
We can achieve.
We can achieve.
No, but I mean, I do the Pink Dot element. It's I think it will keep on keeping on lah. If you know what I mean, like sort of like Earth Hour kind of thing lah. Even just as a reminder of the certain freedoms or whatever that had to be fought for. There have to be the societal change that is possible even in a place like Singapore and all that lah.
But
So yeah.
The one thing I just wanted to give a shout out as we're talking about, the future and all, just building on what you said earlier about how Buzz Lightyear at this point still got N16 rating. There was a recent picture posted by HDB about some BTO thing where they featured two characters that appeared to be same sex.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was kind of funny in the sense that there was a graphic showing my parents now and my parents like age 65 lah. Like my parents age 29, my parents age 65, and it was talking about HDB in general, showing how they they allow families to grow old together lah. But the
Yeah.
original couple was allegedly two women. So then they amended the graphic quickly to kind of show that one is a man instead of a woman. So
Yeah.
it just felt funny. You can imagine the kerfuffle that must have happened internally within HDB. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, because
Crazy.
it was just funny lah. It was just funny.
Yeah. I mean, it's right now is doing marketing is you have your finger on the pulse. You gotta know everything that's going on.
Yeah, man.
And what people are discussing, what month we're in, and everything. The
Yeah.
kind of stuff you put out. This extra care and concern needs to be taken.
Yep.
Yeah,
Cool, man.
but yeah, cool.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, wow, there's
The segue
not much of
king.
a.
The segue
I was-
king.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether I'm just off my game, but this one is like a complete like. I think we spoke about some really deep topics lah. And this one is like it's very debatable, but it's something that I just need to take some time to bring myself to that level, like dig a little hole and bring myself to that level to talk about lah. Yeah, a bit different from our earlier topic. But what is this second topic that I cannot find a segue to?
Oh yeah, it's rare no that the segue king cannot find a segue.
Yeah,
Which
man.
just shows how contrasting of a topic it is to the first topic lah. We go from something that is affecting lives and humans and people to something that is still affecting a group of people.
Yeah.
And that news is that on the good old citizen journalism website Stomp, there was a little kerfuffle at a restaurant where the diners claimed that they were asked to pay $50 to bring cake into a restaurant at Fort Canning.
Yeah.
Kind of like a corkage fee for cakes lah.
Yeah,
But apparently the restaurant refutes the allegations, and that restaurant is Le Jardin.
Le Jardin. Yeah,
Oh, that's how you pronounce it in French.
yeah, like in French,
Le Jardin. What does it mean?
garden.
Garden. Okay, yeah, it's a French restaurant located at Fort Canning Park. So basically, this group made a dinner reservation at Le Jardin for a birthday celebration. When they turned up at the restaurant, they had a external cake, and they were told they had to pay a $50 charge lah. So because the restaurant said no outside food was allowed, and then there was a 1-star review left on Google just saying that the place would go down as one of the worst venues they have set foot in, and that they had given the restaurant a heads up over the phone that they were there to celebrate a birthday and blah blah blah, and yeah, so the restaurant kind of just reiterated, okay, no outside food and drinks, and apparently the charge to bring in the cake is $20 lah.
Yeah, yep.
Right. So
And supposedly they said that the guest actually reserved an Earl Grey lavender cake, which they refused to purchase, so that they can enjoy their own cake with no cover fees. So there was like a solution that the restaurant claimed that it proposed. Yeah,
so
yeah.
so what made you wanna talk about this? I know you want the keenness to talk about this lah.
I'm okay, but I think one more fact is that I think in response to the 1-star reviews left on Google, there have been some people who netizens, people on the internet who have come forward to give 5-star reviews to the Fort Canning restaurant, Le Jardin, because they want to counter the cheapskates who refuse to pay the corkage fee. So there are people out there who are on the restaurant side as well, and they are fighting a battle on Google reviews as we speak, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
So I mean, like, the only time I've heard of cake corkage fees, like right now, like for when my fiance and I were looking for wedding locations and all, right? Some did say that if you want to bring in your own wedding cake or whatever, for when we were looking at restaurants, right, they said you will have to pay lah. And then I was thinking, oh, like, that's interesting, and it was kind of surprising to me because I've only ever heard of beverage corkage lah. But this was a cake corkage. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, okay. maybe it's a thing now.
Yeah. But I mean, just to go back to what I was saying, because I just looked it up. So now these 5-star reviews
Yeah.
saying they're like, nice place with no outside food. It's not a public park anyway. There's a 5-star review about 20
Yeah.
minutes ago, half an hour ago. Amazing meal and glad that entitled Darren Wong wasn't there moaning about $20. He didn't get to have his cake and eat it. So yeah, a lot of people in the last 24 hours have been putting up 5-star reviews to support the restaurants. To support the restaurant, yeah.
But then
In fact, I would say it's the bulk of them are all 5-star reviews. There's like a couple of 1-star reviews. Yeah,
but then
celebrating.
the thing is, like,
supporting what's his name, Darren. Yeah,
but then I think a lot of people would have had the experience where they go eat outside at a restaurant or a cafe or something, and you do get a birthday cake beforehand and you give it to the staff and they will bring it out as and when lah. And I think I do recall quite a few experiences like that. It almost felt like it's the norm lah, right? Which now looking back, that actually feels kind of weird. That if you're bringing a cake to a place that maybe even sells their own cakes, last time I don't think there would ever be any issue, right? Have you
Yeah.
have you ever faced any issue like that?
No. I mean, I have brought cakes for events, but I don't think. I think like what you're saying, like most of the time, it was just like okay lah. They'll just put it in the fridge and take it out later when you need. But maybe more recently, the norms have changed a bit.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the because everybody knows that, okay, like right now inflation is fucking high, cost of goods is high. Just the operating expenses of a restaurant, I assume, are also super high, or higher than before. So now it's just like a kind of a policy that feels new, but okay, to me it kind of makes sense. It's just maybe this one was how you say, it's more like a he said she said kind of situation lah. But the philosophical concept of a cake corkage, I'm actually okay with.
Yeah. Actually, I'm the cake. It's you kind of need to put the cake in the fridge as well, right? So you
Yeah.
are taking up space in the restaurant's fridge in the kitchen. And then after that, for them to take out the cake and to put it on a plate and then get plates and forks for everyone. Someone needs to wash all those utensils as well, right? It does take. If a restaurant wants to charge corkage for it, I will accept it lah. As in, it is part of, you know how service in Singapore, we always talk about how bad it is on it, but then we ask ourselves, are we willing to pay for that better service, right? And if a restaurant says, I'm going to charge you corkage for the cake, then it jolly well come out with plates and forks and everything, and the candles lit when it's brought out of the kitchen,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, to me, it's part of the evolution of Singapore as a city and Singaporeans or people living in Singapore as consumers as well. We can't always be expecting to get everything our way and to treat every place like it's a hawker center. I come here, I throw my tissue down, I eat whatever I want, and everybody just follows my rules and nothing else,
Yeah, especially, I mean, like I can hear the one argument saying, okay, if a place doesn't have a cake, why can't we bring our own cake? Then in that case, also like what you said, I think is very true. Like you always see one of the staff bringing out the cake, maybe even singing a fucking song, and that just comes like with no extra charge or service fee. Feels a bit odd lah. And I can imagine one argument also saying that, yeah, but if they're going there for the birthday dinner, chances are they are spending a good amount. This cake is no issue. But yeah lah, it's like it just feels like you're going to eat at some place and then you're bringing just because it's a birthday cake. Right. And I guess if you want to celebrate anything, like promotional cake also can, breakup cake also can, resigning cake also can. It doesn't have to be a birthday cake. So maybe we're going to see that happen more and more often lah.
Yeah. And I think especially if a restaurant has their own cakes and everything, right?
Yeah.
I think if anything, it's more on the person bringing the cake to actually double check with the restaurant, rather than the restaurant having to tell you like, oh, you can't bring an outside cake or anything like that, lah.
Maybe next time we can try bring your birthday pasta or something. You go to a restaurant and bring a birthday pasta. See what happens.
Yeah.
I don't think they would just immediately enact a pasta cockage or something.
Yeah.
They'll just be like, fuck, who the fuck brings the pasta cockage, birthday pasta? But they just let it be lah.
I guess one equivalent that I see is like when I bring my kid out with me, right? I actually pack we actually pack his meal along as well. And so he eats his own home cooked meal at the restaurant, and we do get utensils from the restaurant and things like that. I've not been charged a toddler or baby cockage fee yet for anything like that, thankfully, because I guess they understand that it's just part of it's the baby's diet lah. They can't get around it lah, right? You know, you can't suddenly be serving foie gras to your baby or anything like that lah, right? So that's fine. But cake wise, I think I would advise this particular user to be a bit less of a Karen. You know, like F&B outlets have been struggling the last few years. You know, in Singapore, we talk about service standards, about raising service standards and things like that. And cockage is very much part of something that you expect when you go to higher end restaurants as well. So to treat it like you're going to, you know, I don't know, like a lower end restaurant or anything like that is you're also just playing dumb lah, you know. You don't go to these kind of places and spend $300 and then expect it to be like McDonald's where you just walk in and do whatever the hell you want, right?
Then what if it's your kid's birthday and then you bring a birthday cake for your kid?
I mean, even then, maybe even more so, I would want to pay a cockage, because it's gonna get messy. Like I know my kid's gonna like make a fuss and everything, and I feel pretty embarrassed about it. All the more I want to bring, I would pay for a cockage.
I think that would throw a restaurant into a pickle because they might have cockage, but they're like, fuck, it's a kid. How to put throw a spanner in the works of a kid celebration?
Yeah, exactly. So how about you? If you were caught in the same situation as Darren, what would you do?
I mean, if it was sprung up on site and I clarified before, then I'd be like, I would have appreciated a heads up. But if it was part of the policy, I would actually be okay with it because same thing lah. Like you, if you're gonna be using their utensils and you're gonna be using their fridge and all, and potentially annoying the other customers with your fucking birthday song, it's just you pay a cockage.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is about these kind of things, it's all just he says, she says. But just thought the concept of a cake cockage was an interesting thing to talk about lah.
Yeah, a kickage.
Fuck lah. I was trying to avoid making that joke because I feel we have moved past that.
No. It's a word. I think it's gonna pick up.
Oh my god!
It's like when you first heard the word selfie in the early 2010s. Then the word is gonna come up.
KKH sounds like someone who's too lazy to pronounce like KKH or something.
KKH.
Is that KKH? Kandang Kerbau Hospital, right? KKH. KKH.
Yeah.
So people just say KKH. Hey, where were you born, KKH?
Holy shit! There's a Merriam-Webster page for what is KKH, and it's literally if it's a fee the restaurant charges you if you show up with dessert.
Oh, is it?
Dessert. Yeah. So it's categorized under KKH, words we're watching. So it's not actually in the dictionary yet, but it's literally a word that has already been used and invented already.
They have a category called words we are watching before they induct it into the official Merriam-Webster's dictionary, is it?
Yeah, they've not met the criteria for entry to the dictionary.
Oh,
but see, booms! I just educated you on a new word.
Fuck you lah. At first you think it was a failed dad joke, and then now you're trying to twist it into something educational.
A dad joke that even Merriam-Webster is watching.
Everybody listening to this podcast,
Merriam-Webster is watching. Man.
Everybody listening to this podcast would have thought about the word KKH. But
I don't see no omelets. I don't see no omelets in this list.
No, omelette. I don't say omelette for anyone apart from myself. I don't say omelette to, like try. It's not an attempt at making a joke, but your KKH thing was clearly an attempt to make a joke. And I guarantee you everybody who heard it cringed at that moment where like, fuck, Darren said this one thing that everybody was thinking about, but we just didn't say. Because that is the lowest hanging fruit, Terence. It wasn't even
Preliminary
hanging.
research
The
it
fruit
dates this
was on
term
the
as far back as 1991.
the fruit was on the ground. It's not even
1991.
low hanging.
1991,
The
Harish.
fruit fell off the ground.
They've been
It's
watching it for
half
30 years.
into the ground.
Society has been playing with this word for 30 years already.
So
And
isn't
you're
that
still like,
reflecting
"What?"
badly on you? Because you
No.
made it seem like you were the first person in the world to ever come up with the word.
Oh yeah. I'll admit I was a bit slow to the game, but at least I'm not totally against it and just dismissing it. As
I'm not against the word. I'm against you and your pride at coming up with that
It's like
word.
it's like your pride when you're pronouncing omelette. You know you're wrong, but you just keep going at it.
I never say you're wrong. I like the word. I like the word KKH. But I could sense the face white smile that you were having, like as though you're fucking Albert Einstein cracking the code of E equals to MC squared when you said it.
Booms, booms. Thank you for your input, Harish. KKH is a word we're going to be hearing a lot more from now on.
So I don't know why you're so proud and like making it seem like you won or something.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. I'm just glad we've both been educated. We've both been educated.
I know. I don't have any issues with the word.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
So I'm just
we're
glad
on the same page.
we learn. It's important that we learn something new every day, Harish.
Yes, even though it's something that we all kind of knew already, KKH.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we learn.
Thank you,
we learn.
Terence. Thank you, Terence. You clearly brightened my day.
Yeah, but let us know what you guys think about this KKH incident,
KKH.
because it's I don't know, it's there seem to be some people who are really against having to pay for the use of a cake, and I love to hear a convincing argument why
Yeah.
other than it's always been, that's the way it's always been. That is not really an argument, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Then if,
But give us another convincing argument if you can.
if they are a fan of the way things have always been, then you throw away your smartphone. lah. You go and throw your smartphone. lah.
Yeah, that's how it's always been.
Yeah. But cool.
Okay, but cool. So
Okay.
we talk about what is since it's been a week or so. Like, what is your one Shiok comment? There should be quite a number.
Yeah, there has been quite a number, and it's nice to read through all of them. But one thing that stuck out to me was long-time Redditor Jungle Jimbo just started a new thread about the potential of a Yellowbutt discussion topic being the Disney film Lightyear being released with an NC-16 rating, which we briefly spoke about earlier in this episode. But a comment there by Internet Lurker 96 reads, throwback to this old video by MOF regarding a similar controversy surrounding the Beauty and the Beast movie. And it was a video that we released in 2017 with the fictional character that we created called Sensar Singh. So it's kind of like a spoof video, and the fact that this person remembered that video just warmed my heart, man.
Yeah.
And if you've just been listening to us without having seen any of our videos, we'll add a link in the show notes and it'll give you some idea of who we were like 4 years ago.
Yeah,
4 years ago. Yeah.
4 years ago.
5 years ago. Oh shit, 5 years
yeah.
ago. Yeah, so shout out to the Internet Lurker 96 for remembering that, man.
Yeah. I mean, my one Shiok comment is I just gotta give you a very easy alley whoop lah. It's up for you to dunk it, but just the Economist 6 posted asking about one Shiok things you've tried. I would like to ask if everyone else tried one Shiok things recommended by Terence and Harish. I just watched Top Gun in IMAX as recommended by Terence, and it was awesome. Like I promised in my one Shiok thing, it was a fucking awesome experience lah. And then, but Majestic Economist adds, on the other hand, I tried Singles Inferno as recommended by Harish, and it was terrible. I couldn't get past 15 minutes. What about anyone else? So Harish, I think I just thought this was an awesome comment, but I want to just give you the floor to try and convince Majestic Economist to give Singles Inferno a bit more than 15 minutes.
So first of all, I think you used the analogy alley-oop totally wrongly, because Alley-oop, traditionally, someone sets up someone else to do a brilliant dunk, much to
Yeah.
the adoration of everyone watching. Lah. Whereas I
yeah.
felt just now, that was a very poor alley-oop because you were kind of
Sure.
like playing on the fact that someone disagreed with my recommendation, which doesn't feel
Yes.
good, okay, as opposed
Yeah.
to a dunk.
Okay, it's an alley-oop, but you are like right
Fuck
now
you.
you're flawed. You're on the floor.
No,
You're on
it's
the
an
floor. You're,
alley-oop
like,
to
even flawed,
yourself. It's an alley-oop to yourself where you dunk the ball through the net right onto my head. But the second
yeah.
point is, I think everyone has a right to their own opinion. And if you watch it for 15 minutes and you didn't feel it, I'm totally fine with that, man. I don't need to convince you why it's great, lah. I
So
respect other people's preference.
not a hill you'll die on, lah. Singles
No,
Inferno.
lah, no. Like I can imagine Singles Inferno being so polarizing. I just really enjoyed it, lah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can-
man.
can-
So your alley-oop, I don't know, man. I think you alley-ooped yourself, and then you were cheering and like it was more. I think you alley-ooped yourself, lah, to yourself.
But yeah, I think I just bounced it off the board, caught it myself, slam dunk.
Yeah,
it.
that's
Then
right.
after that, I passed it to you and I expected you to do something similar. But yeah, you already like.
But how am I supposed to alley-oop that?
already-
How am I supposed to alley-oop that?
But just talking about how great Singles Inferno was, lah.
I mean, it was great, lah. I loved it, lah.
Yeah, but again, it's not a hill that you want to die on. So
Yeah, it's not a hill that I want to die on. Because yeah, if you didn't like it, well, cool.
But no matter, there's still always another chance. You want to take a stab at giving a one Shiok Thing.
Yeah,
that
I
will
mean,
be
I also want to add
universally
that.
loved by everybody.
I also want to add that there are some other people who also commented on that thread saying they did follow my recommendation and they enjoyed my recommendations. So just want to clarify that it's not just Terrence who has one Shiok things that people try and like, lah.
And awesome, yeah.
Yeah. But
okay.
my one Shiok thing is actually a Reddit thread that went viral 2 years ago on the Singapore subreddit. And it's called Beyond Uniqlo, a step-by-step style guide for Singaporean dudes.
Yeah.
So it's gotten over 2K upvotes and 1K shares. So if you're listening to this and you're a Yalabat Redditor, you may have seen this. But basically, this person kind of just talks about like, I think Uniqlo now has become so common that a lot of guys just use it as their baseline wardrobe. So this person just broke it down into like a 5-part guide to think about how to get clothes outside of Uniqlo, lah. And it was like how to decide your best color, and with a simple litmus test of using silver or gold next to your face and figuring out if you look better with gold, chances are you have a warm undertone. If you look better with silver, you have a cool undertone. And then they just recommend certain colors that go well with you. Then choosing fabrics, cuttings, and it was just a very easy read with some little tips that I never thought of before. So, for example, choosing fabrics, right? This person just says that okay, when you're looking for a t-shirt or something, you just scrunch it up with your fist and release. And if there are a lot of creases, then you know that okay lah, it's going to be tough to iron, lah. And that one I can imagine a lot of people saying, yeah, of course that's obvious. But another one that I read that was super interesting is it if you are buying like a t-shirt from a stack and you see a stack of the same t-shirts there, just put your hand in the middle and see whether it's warm or cold. If it's cold, then you know that okay lah, it regulates heat better lah, and it doesn't, you won't feel very warm wearing it. Then I was reading it, I was like, oh shit, and it's gotten such a good response that the person has now posted a more visual piece on Medium, and they said they're going to post more content for men's fashion.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I just thought, oh fuck, this is some good shit, man. I don't know what the demographic or profile of the person who wrote this is, but yeah, it was great. It was great.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
I'm just gonna go a bit on a throwback. I'm sure you've recommended this before, but more recently I just started. I mean, I did watch it a few episodes before, but I just didn't really get into it the last round. But this time I just forced myself to sit through a few more episodes, and suddenly it clicked for me already. Community, Dan Harmon's Community has clicked for me.
Oh shit!
And because they're just such short 20-minute episodes, they really fill in the time for me now when I watch it on Netflix.
Oh,
maybe it's
shit,
due to just hearing more about Dan Harmon, like as a person, following his Instagram and just liking his general sense of humor a lot more lah. I mean, we know of him from Rick and Morty definitely, but Rick and Morty, you know, it's an animation lah, so it's a toughest sell for when I'm trying to think of what I want to watch, and then just when I have just a short amount of time and all that lah. But Community has been like just enjoying it a lot more than I thought I did the last time lah.
So you're on which season now?
Still the first season only.
Oh, fuck.
But
Wow.
it's just like I actually like look forward to watching it lah.
Oh, that is great. What made you want to try it again?
Like I remember I think my one Shiok Thing recently was a Dan Harmon interview that he did with the woodworking talk show. And just his general sense of humor and everything. I was like, hey, if he's so funny like in real life and everything, I'm just thinking what a live action series by him should be like. And it's been pretty good so far.
Oh, that is awesome. Of course, part of me is like, I told you how many fucking times, Terrence, it is a good show. And you're like,
but the truth is I had to sit through like at least 4 episodes.
Yeah.
So it's more than the usual like 2 episodes of Netflix.
Yeah.
That I usually give Netflix shows.
It's an acquired taste. It's an acquired taste. And
correct.
if you carry on watching, you would see, because he left the show, I think, season 4.
Yeah.
And he came back in season 6. And you can see it. You can see how much of him is in the show, because when he leaves, there is a difference.
Yeah, that's true.
Wow, you just started season 1. It's going to get better, man.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's the one Shiok Thing, that feeling of discovering something that has been around for so long and has such a strong community. So that's cool.
Cool.
But yeah.
That's awesome.
All right.
Awesome. Cool.
Man.
All right.
Peace.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone, and talk to y'all soon.